Have you ever felt like the ads that you see on your social media feed are specifically targeted to you?
And I'm thinking about taking a trip to Disney World.
That sounds fun.
Then I'm seeing ads for Disney World on my phone. Is my phone listening to me?
Talking to my mom about totally random pink flamingos, pink lawn flamingos. Hours later, I'm on Facebook and it's like, here's where you can buy pink flamingo themed cups, glasses. It was so odd, so freaky.
I was talking about this product and then I saw an ad for it. Matt, are they listening through my phone? And I'm like, well, they didn't hear you. They didn't listen to anything. The truth is actually more frightening.
I guess it's not big news that brands are able to target you based on what you do on the internet. We all had that situation in which we just finished reading or even talking about a product, and directly after that, we view an ad for this exact product.
You know when you talk about something with your friend and all of a sudden you see an Instagram ad for it? I said, man, I could really use some Wendy's right now. I also said, man, I'm really craving a burger from Wendy's. And guess what ads show up on my Instagram? You guessed it, Wendy's. I got not one, but 2 ads for them.
I had a conversation with a friend. In person or in real life. It's not like I typed it anyway. It's in real life. I told my friend that I want to get a new credit card. Tell me why the next ad on my phone is apply now for credit card. These people are watching us.
Today, these are the questions I'm going to try to answer. My name is Ted, and I'm what we call a programmatic specialist. I'm one of the people who strategize and deliver campaigns for very large brands. As part of my job, I often create strategies that make sure to engage viewers, you, in different mediums such as TV, online displays, out of home, and many others. So yes, I might be the reason why you are retargeted so much by some products. Sorry about that. But this is a story for another day. As you will discover, the fine line between privacy and profit is a very thin one, and some brands decide to completely ignore it. Welcome back to Ad Chronicles. And as always, if you want to support our work, please consider liking the video and subscribing to the channel. This helps a lot more than what you may think. And if you want to support us further, please consider checking out our online courses in the description below.
It's 10 o'clock. Time to prepare a delicious meal. Chill with Sprite.
This was an ad from Sprite that went out in 2024. You might have seen it, or more like a version of it. If you're good at detecting AI, you probably have noticed that this video is fully AI generated. However, what most of you probably don't know is that there are over 200 different videos created for single ads. Why? To make sure to target everyone at the right time and right moment. So that means that if you were to scroll on TikTok at 10 AM, the ad you would see at that time would have been, it's 10 AM, time to scroll.
It's 10 o'clock. Time to scroll through memes.
Or if you were gaming at 9 PM, it would engage you with, it's 9 PM, time for a gaming session with Sprite. The first reaction of people I talk to is pretty much always the same. Wow, that's so cool. But also creepy. Why? Because of how accurate the ad was. And that's understandable. When the first, wow, cool moment passes and you see the ad a few times, always knowing what you do or should be doing, you can't help this uneasy feeling that you are being followed online.
My phone is listening to me for targeted ads?
Pretty creepy. Especially Facebook. I just had a convo with my friends about math at school, and all of a sudden start getting online math courses ads. And my teacher, who just had a divorce, suddenly get ads about sex on Facebook.
They absolutely do. Hell, I bought a beer that I hadn't in years and I never mentioned it at all. Camera must have seen it. Right after I got home, I put on YouTube on my TV and was getting ads for that beer. Not a common one at all, within minutes.
So how far is too much when it comes to personalized advertising? It is crazy to think that a bit more than 20 years ago, peak targeting in advertising was to deliver an ad for sport gears on a sports-rated website. And now, how far we've come. It feels even difficult to just try to understand what brands can or cannot do nowadays. First, let me start by explaining how ads like the Sprite ad manage to know so much about you and follow you around. In terms of tracking users, there are 3 main methods that companies use to track you across websites: cookies, device IDs, and IP addresses. The most widely used techniques are cookies. Yes, they may have a cute name, but they really are not. A cookie is a small file that, when accepted, will follow you around the internet for a maximum of 12 months in Europe, and forever in some states of the US. So yes, accepting these cute little cookies on a website actually means that they will hold your data for 12 months and use it or sell it for advertisers to use. Now think about it. How often do you accept website cookies? You might be thinking that accepting these cookies only give the website access to your data. Can't be that bad, right? Well, actually, what you're accepting on the website are third-party cookies, aka all of the other websites that want to track you. Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, your news website. It is likely they are in the list of these third-party cookies you accept. So in reality, when accepting cookies, what you really are accepting is for hundreds of companies to track you across the web.
This website for jeans just saved a cookie onto my browser. That's it, a string of letters and numbers that form a unique ID to help the site remember me. The sites you visit do this too. That's what all those pop-ups are telling you. Cookies actually make our online world possible, but they also allow jeans to follow me around the internet. That's because cookies enable companies to band together to track and remember everything we do online. And they've become the center of a war for our personal data.
Okay, let's say you don't accept cookies. Brands can't target you again, right? Wrong again. If you're on the phone, you're probably part of the hundreds of millions of people who are tracked based on the device IDs. A device ID is the unique ID of any mobile phone. How would they track you, you may ask? Remember when that app you downloaded asked you if they can monitor your activity? It was just to send useful notifications, right? Right? Well, no. At that moment, you just accepted to be tracked by advertisers wherever you go on the web with your mobile device. Worse even, with the information from your cookies and or device IDs, brands have access to your IP address now, which they can use to target you even on other devices in which you wouldn't accept any of these two things. And with this trifecta in mind, you start to see the big picture. And you probably also understand how large companies such as Meta and Google keep getting fined with outrageous amounts. Their cookies are placed on every website and they will happily use your data to improve their algorithms. Some of you might be asking now, why they get fines if the data is consented? Or in short, why do they get fined if the user consented to being tracked? But did the user really explicitly consent to Meta or Google tracking them? Or did they think they were just accepting the cookies of the website? And what if I told you that the main reason they get sued so much is because of the users that did not consent to being tracked? Don't believe me? Let me show you.
Under the terms of the deal, Ascension Health Centers, which is a chain of hospitals, contracted with Google, and they transferred all of this patient data, which includes medical records, names, dates of birth, to Google. And under HIPAA, because Google is a business associate, they are allowed to do this. But the trick here is that none of the patients or the doctors were aware or gave consent that this transfer was taking place.
The tool that you see is what we call a tag manager, and this is the one I use for my own website. If you haven't seen it, this website with all of the services from the trading of campaigns to all of the online courses that we have, ranging from programmatic advertising to analytics, yada yada yada. But what this tool really does is that it enables me to easily add marketing cookies on my website to track the user and retarget them across websites, social media platforms, Google, etc. This, by the way, is the sort of tools all of the advertisers use. From Coca-Cola to your small local stores, if they're working with an agency, they likely have a Google Tag Manager or at least a tag manager. Some cookies, like the one called Piwik Pro or Heat Maps, are there for analytic purposes, meaning counting the visits, sales, troubleshooting the website, etc. The thus do not require any consent, as they are necessary to be able to monitor the health of the website. If I don't have it, for example, and the website crashes, I wouldn't know it. Or if, for example, there's an issue on Android phone specifically, I would not be able to see it if I don't have these kind of tools. This is what we call the first-party cookies, or the strictly necessary cookies. Then you have the third-party cookies, which are used to track website actions created by advertising or to retarget users who visited the website. For these, you would of course need consent, and this is why they're also called third-party cookies, as they are from third-party vendors. Now here is the issue. In one click, I can change the meta cookie to need no consent, meaning all of the users on the website will trigger this pixel whether they want it or not. This is of course completely legal, but that's what a lot of large brands actually do. Because it's a simple click of a button, it's also a simple click to be forgotten about. And when they get caught, they just say something like, oh, this is because of a website or a bug we didn't know. Or even worse, oh, Meta were not being clear enough about how to install it properly, so we forgot about that. Handy, right? So who are really the ones to blame for these abuses in tracking? The advertising platforms, which are putting systems in place which are too easy to counter? Brands that purposefully play by the rules? Or the users not being careful enough? I will leave that one to you. Okay, I think I've scared you enough for now. Let's now see a bit of the other side, as right now you may portray marketers in these brands like a mastermind having personal files about every visitor with names, addresses, interests, etc. The reality is that, in my experience, most people have absolutely no idea what they're doing. I've met quote-unquote developers who had no idea what cookies were and how to put content on a website. Every week I have calls with clients, some of which being executive from billion-dollar companies, in which I have to explain to them what a cost per click is. Yes, a cost per click. So the reality is that a lot of these situations in which users are tracked without consent are just simple bliss for ignorance. That doesn't mean that all of them are. In very big companies like Volkswagen and Coca-Cola, these things shouldn't happen, of course. But for your local business, it probably is that they just forgotten about it. And Meta still tracks the data and uses it. Also, I work in what we call programmatic advertising, which is just everything but social media and search ads. So TV, radio, out-of-home, websites, video online, etc. And I can tell you with a lot of confidence, the targeting in 90% of the cases sucks. All of the data providers, meaning all of the people that gather data around the internet, have different data about the same users, which says completely opposite things. The reason is that the more people in an audience segment, meaning a subpopulation that you can target with a marketing campaign, the more money the data provider can get out of that segment. Because the more people into it, the more people you can reach, thus the more money they can get. So these data providers tend to put anyone they kind of see fit in the audience segment to grow their revenue. As a funny example of this, recently one advertiser asked me to target 18 to 24 years old individuals, and he wanted to do so on different websites. I told them it would probably be more cost effective to not rely on cookies or targeting and just simply to go on popular websites for that age group. But of course, they ignored it. So here I am activating 3 audience segments, meaning 3 pool of users, all supposedly 18 to 24, according to their respective provider. And to prove how bullshit all 3 were, I decided to activate a 4th independent one, to only measure what it thought the age groups were in the 3 others. The results? The 4th one reported a completely normal distribution for all of the other 3. For those that don't know statistics, and God bless you, right, it's horrible. Here is the age distribution in a country, say France. This is a normal distribution. So the 4th provider was basically telling me I was paying thousands of dollars in targeting for absolutely nothing. Needless to say that after that waste of money, these advertisers finally started to listen to advice a bit more. And if you are right now wondering why this targeting sucked so much, it's because website cookies, they just track what you do across websites. So if you're not logged into a website and haven't consented to your age being shared, what cookies actually captures is just what you do, your past on the internet. So at the end of the day, you don't really go around putting your age everywhere. So most of these audience providers were just relying on predictive audiences or just things they thought about, meaning, oh, this person went on this website, it must be this age. So it was just about probability, nothing precise. That being said, some targeting in my field of expertise also are very precise, meaning I can get nearly 100% precision on some targetings. So when I want to, and truthfully I'm considered quite good at my job, I can target an audience with almost a precision of 100%. Not all of the type of audiences, but some types like B2B, we can target them with a near precision of 100%. But that's the minority of marketers. Remember that the golden rule in marketing is that most have no idea what they're doing. If you want to prove, just go on Reddit and have a look at marketing forums. You will understand what I mean. It's funny, you will see. Now that you all fully understand how the advertising world really works in terms of targeting, let's answer the main question of today. Are we being followed and listened to?
Talk about these things very little. There's no Google searches on my computer. There's no searches on my phone for these things. And pulled up the Facebook app a little while later, and let me show you what I see here. Well, wouldn't you know it? That is the first time I have ever seen a beer ad on my Facebook app.
There was a reason why I gave the exact example of you talking about a product with a friend, then seeing an ad for it. This is the #1 argument I get as to why people think they are being followed. And the short answer is yes. Using cookies, device IDs, and IP addresses are very good methods to engage the same user across multiple marketing channels. This data is, however, very much anonymized, so it's not you personally being followed, but subpopulations. And there are still some laws protecting users on what kind of targeting can be used. For instance, to be used, an audience needs to have at least, on most platforms, 1,000 people into it. Also, no person identifiers can be used or found in the data, and some segmentation of the population are straight up illegal. In Europe, targeting underage people, which in Europe is lower than 18 years old, is completely illegal. In most countries also, targeting based on religions or ethnicities is also off limits. So as you can see, there are some rules we need to follow in advertising. The issue lies with what we commonly call walled gardens, meaning all of the big tech companies like Meta and Google. The advertising and targeting system is so opaque that it makes it hard to know exactly how much they actually track. And this is of course on purpose, as I would believe a lot of what they actually do is shady at best. Okay, now let's answer the questions. Are we really being followed by these walled gardens in which we know nothing about? To explain this, let's come back to our example of talking with your friend about a product and seeing an ad for it. To answer this truthfully, I will take two sides. First, let's play a devil's advocate with a quite convincing defense, which relies on two arguments. The first and main argument used by these platforms like Meta and Google to defend not listening or following you too much on the internet is centered around one of the most used type of targeting in advertising, a lookalike audience. A lookalike in advertising is simply someone that is closely related or similar enough to the baseline, which can be someone or a group of people. So they have 100 of these characteristics in which they can classify the users. And when they want to create that lookalike audience, let's say on you, what they would do is imagine taking 10,000 people and finding the 100s that have the most characteristics in common with you. But the one that interests us here is the connection type. It's not rocket science that you tend to get along better with people with similar ideas or backgrounds as you. So your closest connections on Facebook are likely interested in similar things as you are. And because of it, what tells you that your friends, which you talked about this given product, did not just Google it afterward, or talked about it with a third friend which himself Googled it. And that kind of creates an argument in which, if you look at a network of people, some people that can be not directly linked to you may have searched for it and then you get the ad for it. So the fact that you are seeing this ad might be the reason of your friend or his friends just Googling it, and you, being close enough with them, fall into that lookalike audience based on connection. But we cannot only blame lookalikes for that. This seems a bit like a sorry excuse for overly tracking people. So in itself, that wouldn't hold. And thus we come to the second and the other main argument to why brands may not be following us around as much as we think. A study published in 2014 by the Media Dynamics, I could not find a more recent rigorous study, estimated that users were exposed to an average of 362 ads daily, with about 12 making any sort of impact. And that was 10 years ago. So the number today could be closer to 600 a day, if not more. So let me throw a question at you. Can you name at least 5 ads you saw today? Probably not, because of something we call ad blindness, meaning you see so many ads that you become blind to them. So it is likely that the product you talked about with your friend have been trying to expose you with ads for weeks before you noticed one. And then you finally noticed because of something we call the Baader-Meinhof phenomenon, or more simply the frequency illusion bias. In short, when discovering or rediscovering something, there is a tendency to notice it more frequently, making it seem like it has become more common. And because we humans are full of biases, confirmation bias kicks in. This bias is simply your brain's liking to be right, so favoring beliefs that goes in that direction. So in our example, we talked about the product with our friends and finally noticed the ads that have been exposing for weeks if not months. And because we like to think that brands are overly targeting us, our brains confirms that belief when seeing the ad. In short, the defense of these big companies look like an elevated kindergarten fight. They just say, "No, that's not true. It's the users and his friends' fault for being dumb and stupid." So, in short, although this is not a very convincing pitch from these mega companies, it does give a credible explanation as to why you saw this ad. Okay, I'm done playing the devil's advocate. Let's now remind ourselves just for a minute who, or rather what we are dealing with when talking about these big companies and privacy violations. So, in a quick summary of the last 9 years, 2016. Google received geofencing runs for collecting all of the geofencing data of mobile phones within specific geographic areas. 2017. Facebook was fined for lying about matching the newly acquired WhatsApp and Facebook data after stating it would not do so. 2018 Cambridge Analytica scandal in which Facebook sold the data of close to 87 million users to a political consulting firm. 2019 TikTok is being served a class action lawsuit for sending unconsented data to Chinese tech giants. 2020 Google was found guilty of collecting unauthorized user data in incognito mode. Yes, that one should scare a lot of young lads out there. Your browsing history might not be as private as you think. 2021, all of the tech giants accused of having wanky security with a record breaking 1,862 data breaches in just 1 year. 2022, both Meta and Google get fined for unauthorized data tracking in South Korea. And we are not done. 2023, a new record for advertising fine with a $1.2 million fine for Meta. Great job, Meta, after it was found guilty of not giving any fuck about European privacy regulations. And finally, 2024, Meta, once again being accused of running a massive illegal operations to collect data without proper consent. Yes, that's a lot. And all of these are just a small portion of all of the advertising lawsuit which happened in the last 10 years. Just last year, in the ad news segment, I think we covered like 5 or 6 from LinkedIn, Meta, Pinterest, Google, the Trade Desk I think, and many others. So now what can we say? Either tech giants are just shit at hiding their traces, or they are doing so many illegal activities that they are bound to get caught every now and then. No matter the answer to the previous question, the reason why they do it is always the same: data. In our era, data is what makes the algorithm, what monetizes a business, what makes these systems more addictive for the users. Do I have any doubt that these tech giants are listening to us talk? I don't think they care about the people, but rather about the data. Don't forget that when it's free, you are the product. So next time a free app offers you something that makes your life a bit easier, think about it. Is that feature worth the data and the privacy they take from you? I can't make that decision for you, but what I can say is that this is the reason I disable TikTok and Instagram from my phone. Thanks again for following along on this video. If you want to support our channel, please consider liking, subscribing and checking our online courses on programmatic advertising and analytics. They are in the description below. Again, thanks for watching and see you soon.